everyone. My name is Sarfraz Malik. I'm a solution architect with over 20 years experience, and I'm certified in various Azure areas as well as other areas. And I have got quite a lot of experience working in major enterprises. I did publish my previous video, which was with regards to solving a real world problem within an enterprise using Azure AI services. And I do want to appreciate, some of the feedback that I received on that video. One question that I do get asked few times is with regards to the cloud adoption. How can an enterprise start looking at cloud adoption and moving towards that kind of discovery phase to creating a reference architecture and then creating business value? So this video that I want to create is more architecture focused. I want to look at those concrete steps which an organization can take from an idea to concrete realization. There's not going to be any fancy demo in this video, but hopefully anyone, especially in enterprises who are looking to kickstart their AI transformation, uh, can make use of some of my thoughts around this area. Thank you. Right. So enterprises, when adopting AI, needs to follow a structured approach. And in this diagram, I'm trying to show a typical journey, which is five-step journey, which an organization can take to kind of set the scene and understand the requirements to all the way to operationalization. And in my opinion, if an organization, an enterprise follows these steps, then their journey is definitely going to be much more organized and rewarding and value driven. And one of the first steps is basically establishing the foundation, basically, which means defining an AI strategy, selecting the right use cases, and putting guardrails and responsible AI principles in place. AI strategy defines why the organization is using AI. So before you just sort of dive in and go with the crowd because everyone is using the AI. We need to understand why do we want to use the AI, where will it deliver the value, how will it align with the business goals, and that's quite key. In practice, an AI strategy should answer questions like, what are the problems we are trying to solve with AI? For example, is it a knowledge access issue? Is it a productivity issue? Is it a customer support problems? Is it reducing a risk in some area of the organization? Which use cases are approved versus off limits? For example, in an internal co-pilots versus customer facing decisions. And then questions like who owns these AI outcomes? Is it business owners? Is it the product teams, the risk owners? How do we measure success? Is it going to be accuracy, adoption, cost, time saving, or risk reduction? Um, Additionally, AI strategy needs to be purpose driven, not experimentation for the sake of it. It needs to align with business priorities. It should be incremental and value focused. Um, and once you kind of formulate your AI strategy, then it's quite important that as an organization, as an enterprise, you set some AI guardrails. And AI guardrails are the policies policies and controls and technical constraints that actually define how AI is going to operate safely within the enterprise. And these guardrails should answer questions like what data can AI access? What actions is AI allowed to take? What outputs are acceptable or prohibited? What risks are we mitigating by the design? And these guardrails normally exist at three levels. There's organizational guardrails, which are policy driven. There's technical guardrails, which are kind of architecture driven, and then operational guardrails, more driven by runtime and ops. So the foundations establishing the foundation is quite a critical step before kind of going ahead and building these AI solutions. Once the foundation is set, then as an enterprise you can go ahead and build a secure platform backbone which kind of focuses on network isolation, identity governance, and compliance, so that AI workloads are enterprise ready from day one. And once this platform is secure, we can go ahead and build a Gen AI orchestration layer, which could be built and deployed to act as a control plane of how models are used, how these models are accessed and governed. And with that in place, we can go ahead and capitalize on things like retrieval augmented generation RAG. And once we've got that RAG going, that basically ensures that all of our AI solutions and agents, their answers are grounded in trusted enterprise data rather than just relying on a generic model knowledge. And finally, once an organization kind of goes through that build phase and delivery phase, then the operationalization is important. We need to make sure that the organization operationalizes and scales AI through governance, monitoring, and Gen AI ops practices, and that will turn AI from an experiment into a kind of a repeatable, secure, and scalable capability. And these steps, kind of set the scene for a end-to-end structured delivery of AI solutions. Um, right. So digging a little bit deeper now in this AI adoption framework, one of the key milestone, in my opinion, in for any enterprise is to define and agree and approve through their design governance is a Gen AI reference architecture. And I've got an example reference architecture that I want to go through with you guys here. This is obviously not one and the only architecture, but it kind of highlights all major building blocks that a reference architecture are going to need in an enterprise. At a high level, this architecture shows how enterprise users safely interact with the large language models without exposing models or the data directly. And you can just look from left to right. So basically, users start communicating with with the Gen AI system through familiar channels like a web app, mobile app, or Microsoft Teams. And every request then kind of flows through the organization's edge and API layer. So we've got Azure front door, and API management, which act as our secure edge layer, handling authentication, throttling, and protection. We can put number of policies in these layers. From there, the requests are routed to a Gen AI orchestration layer that we as an enterprise own and operate. This could typically be hosted in an Azure App Services if the solutions are being built in an Azure cloud, or a container-based compute resource. This orchestrator is the brain of the system. It enforces identity and authorization via, for example, Enter ID, builds policy-aware prompts, performs retrieval using Azure AI Search, for example, to ground responses in enterprise data, and then securely calls models which could be hosted, for example, in Azure AI Foundry or Azure OpenAI. Data never trains the models, and sensitive access is essentially tightly controlled. And finally, everything is governed and observed through security and ops layer. For example, a keyword and application insights, log analytics, and Microsoft Purview, giving enterprise the security, compliance, and visibility they need to run Gen AI safely at scale. So I want to dig a little bit deeper in the RAG runtime request flow, because that's quite an important component when building Gen AI solutions. And this diagram shows a retrieval augmented generation request flow through the system at runtime. So basically, a user, starts by asking a question in a client application through various channels, for example, a web app or a team experience. That request is then sent securely over the HTTPS and first passes through the Azure API management, which handles authentication, validation, throttling, and routing. From there, the request is forwarded to the Gen AI orchestration layer, which is our application running in an app service or a container-based compute. The orchestrator builds a system and proxy-aware prompt, then performs a vector or hybrid search against, for example, Azure AI Search in this case, to retrieve the most relevant chunks of enterprise data. Those top K grounded documents are injected into the prompt. This enriched prompt is then sent to the Azure OpenAI or Azure AI Foundry models. The models generate a response which is grounded in the enterprise data, after which the orchestrator applies safety filters, logging and post processing before returning the final response back through the API management to the client. And throughout this entire flow, security and operations services like keyword, application insights, log analytics, and Purview provides secrets management, observability, and governance. Right. So finally, I want to touch a little bit about secure networking and governance architecture. This diagram shows how we secure and govern Gen AI workloads in an enterprise Azure environment using a hub and spoke network model. At the center is the Azure subscription, with a hub virtual network providing shared services like Azure Firewall and private DNS, which enforces traffic control and name resolution. The Gen AI platform lives in a dedicated spoke virtual network where the Gen AI orchestrator runs in isolated compute and communicates with platform services exclusively through private endpoints. Azure OpenAI, Azure AI Search, storage, and keywords are all accessed privately, meaning no public internet exposure for models or the data. On top of the network controls, governance and security are enforced through Microsoft Purview for data discovery and classification, and Defender for cloud for continuous posture management and threat detection. Together, this architecture kind of ensures that Gen AI workloads are private, compliant, and enterprise ready by design. So this was a quick whistle stop tour from my side with regards to enterprise AI adoption path, and hopefully it's been useful for you guys. Please feel free to provide a feedback or any comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.